of clarification.
Sure.
It was, I think it was on slide 17 and 18, as I recall, there was a note at the bottom where you're talking over 20 years. You're talking over 20 years prospectively, from
20
here
years.
to the next.
Right.
It's not based on the past 20 years.
No, it's for the life of the bond.
Yeah, okay, I
Yeah.
just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure that was understood.
Any other questions?
Pat, I have a question.
Sure. Sorry.
In terms of the space, projected needs of 115,000 over in the Renaissance Square,
What slide number is that?
12. Are you anticipating moving every department of the city, including those that are jointly merged now, like the planning services?
The planning services, those individuals are county employees, so they would remain. So
Okay.
they would remain here.
So any city-county joint departments,
Yes.
that would stay in this building?
Councilwoman, I've also made a point of my discussions with the commissioners that there are other areas where we have worked together. As far as I'm concerned, whatever building best meets the needs of our community with regards to accessibility by the general public. If they want to remain here, that's fine. If it's more appropriate to go to Renaissance, if that happens, that's fine too. We're open to that. So nothing's set in stone.
I have a question, Pat.
Sure.
Slide 9, where it says, I think the renovations are 7.2 million. I recall reading that 1.2 million of that is for furnishings. That leaves about 6 million for the actual renovation of the building. Does that 6 million include soft costs and contingency funds?
Yes, it does. And I'm not sure, I did have in there originally 1.2 for furniture. The more I thought about that, it's like everybody has furniture today. That might be something we have to kind of work around, because I think it's more important to make sure that we have enough to get the building to where it will be. In fact, there's some corporations, it's kind of interesting, some corporations are not even putting cubicles in. They're going back to the old IBM, stacked next to each other. So we'll kind of have to see how that plays out. There's a belief that there's better communication, better productivity with that concept. Thank you very much.
We do want to reiterate our thanks as the Board of Commissioners to Mayor Tom Henrys for the opportunity to make this presentation. Scott Harrell, our Senior Economic Development Specialist, and Mark Royce, Deputy Director of Economic Development, are going to make the presentation for us, and let's take it from here.
A lot of what are on the opening slide are the same as what Pat said, but I'll just go back and reiterate those. City and County did look at doing the possible combined purchase of Renaissance Square during Richard's administration. Last year there was discussion. It's not the same discussion we'll have today, because at that time it was locating public safety in the city-county building and moving city-county building operations to the Renaissance Square building. And then the mayor announced in June that his desire to consolidate into Renaissance Square. And the commissioners responded back with a request that we take another look at the co-location possibilities. I don't think anybody disputes the fact that both the Sheriff's Department and the Fort Wayne Police Department need new office headquarters. But then since 1971, both the administrative offices for City of Fort Wayne and Allen County have been in this building. What we don't want to do from the county side is say not to go pursue the purchase of Renaissance Square, if that's the highest and best use as far as getting that for the police department. But I think there's some benefit basically from a public standpoint that having administrative city-county building offices in this building makes sense. one of the things that implicitly or explicitly is that the city would prefer to own space rather than lease it. The second would be that we should gain some synergy by consolidation of public safety into a central location. And then, again, going back to maintain city and county administrative offices is probably the best for the citizens of Allen County. The proposal basically from the county's perspective is that we do not want to hold the city back from pursuing the purchase of Renaissance Square, but we would like to see that a joint ownership of both the city-county building and the Renaissance Square building with an equity exchange, not unlike how the parking garage is done through the city and county. So that's basically in terms of the proposal. The benefits of that proposal is that the city does gain ownership stake, removes the lease payments operation from the operating cost, and then the city goes back to returning, sharing operating and maintenance costs with the city-county building to offset those lost lease payments. And then the city continues to save by reducing expenditures on the other buildings that they're looking at consolidating. And then the county would share in the renovation cost of Renaissance, which would help in that in reducing the city's debt payments. Scott Harold has done a lot of the, or most of the work between Pat and Scott and myself. We've sat and we're trying to make sure we have as close to apples to apples comparison. And so I'll let Scott take over with the financial side of that.
Financial benefits of the county's joint ownership proposal. First of all, it maintains the financial benefits of the city's plan, as Mark said, in getting rid of some of their obsolete buildings to Creighton Avenue and consolidating some operations. Additional benefit of reducing the debt service cost of Renaissance Square by, for example, and this was just prorated example, if the county contributed toward the renovation of Renaissance by about $3 million, debt service would be reduced by $4.3 million over 20 years. As you can see in the next slide, our proposal, we believe, meets the same savings for the city as their original proposed plan. These are basically a comparison of the two numbers. The city's is the first column and the county joint ownership proposal is the second. Basically, this top starts with that operating costs, and this is just the cost side. It doesn't take into account the savings, which will be the same regardless of the structure. Under the county proposal, the county would have about $16.5 million of costs toward the Renaissance operation, which would be savings to the city. So the city's share of operating costs would go from $39.9 to $23.3 million. City's moving costs would be a little bit less by just moving city utilities in this example rather than all their operations out of this building. The city would pay some of the operating, their share of prorated operating expenses for this building, which would be about $21 million in this estimate. It may be less. That's just a rough calculation right now. The key being that the city would save about $4.3 million in debt service. And as you can see, the two numbers on the total cost over 20 years are nearly identical, $161 difference. So that's just the general. There's more details in the handouts that were given, but that's pretty much the total nutshell. The proposed building utilization, city and county and Renaissance Square have about 400,000 plus square foot usable space. Joint ownership would provide opportunities for both the city and county to utilize that additional space to consolidate their operations and save money on both sides. the county's proposal is that the city retain administrative functions in this building.